gloves, they play a pretty important role because they are the one piece that's between our hands and our ice axe. And generally when you're ice climbing, if you have a too bulky glove, it can lead to your hands pumping out, and that can also lead to getting the screaming barfies. So having a good glove is pretty important, finding the good balance between dexterity and warmth. And here are the gloves I use. It's taken me 2 seasons to find all these gloves. The first season I climbed in was just like I climbed in a pair of the Mixalots, and that's pretty much what I used for the whole season. I did a review video on them. Probably update that because it's a different model, and I'll get to that. But yeah, so here's the gloves that I've been using for 2 seasons, and I've added some gloves just this past season that we're just kind of wrapping up. So I'll just get into it and kind of go briefly explain each glove and what they kind of do. So the first glove I'm going to go to is this. This is the Rab M14 glove. Rab advertised this glove as it's their premier dry tooling and mix climbing glove, and I would probably have to agree with that. One thing though that I kind of found with these is I've been using these as my main lead glove. They're super thin. I mean, all you have right here is just a soft shell. There's no insulation. It is just a soft shell. And then you have a leather palm with some reinforcements right across right here, and some little reinforcements across the pinky where the pommel sits. Personally, I'd rather have more protection on the pinky, but this also works. So I use these as my main lead glove. I've been using them for basically at the tail end of last season and pretty much all of the season. They've been my go-to glove. They're getting slightly worn in some places. It's to be expected when you use them all the time. Overall, they're a really good glove. They're really good for sensitivity. It's great sensitivity and grip with the leather palm, and that's pretty much why I got them. I knew that because they were a dry tooling glove and mixed climbing glove, they would probably handle really well for lead climbing, and that turned out to be true. All you have to do is you basically sacrifice the warmth, which that's not really a big problem when you're climbing, because as you're climbing, I would rather have more of an open hand because I know I can feel the pommel and the whole handle. Whereas like if I had a thicker glove, it might lead to me gripping the handle more, which can lead to a faster pump out and overall just not a great time. So I value these thinner gloves way more than I do thicker gloves because I have unrivaled dexterity. But the problem with these kind of types of gloves is, let's say, I'm doing a multi-pitch climb and I get up to the, where I pitch it out and I build a belay station, and then I'm belaying the follower up. If I didn't change gloves and I just kept on belaying these, that's the times that this glove starts to fail because there is not a lot of insulation in it, or any. So because of that, your hand starts to get cold, and if you're going to be leading the next pitch, that's where you get some frozen hands, and you end up getting the barfies in your hands, or just one hand, which happened pretty recently. But that's kind of the downside of these gloves. But overall for leading, they're really good. So I do like these Rab M14 gloves. I kind of got them because I was definitely curious about these more mixed climbing and dry tooling orientated gloves. And the glove that kind of got me to think about these was the OR Mixalot glove. So I did get another pair. Obviously you can kind of tell the old Mixalot gloves had a white leather palm. I think pretty sure it was a Pittard's leather palm, not really sure. But this is the new updated version. What did they do for the updated version? Well, they kind of fixed some stitching problems, and they kind of changed the type and the pattern of the leather. But for these gloves, I kind of learned my mistake at first. Is the older pair of Mixalot gloves that I used to use were a size medium, and the size medium stretched out really fast. So I thought to combat this, I would get a size small. As you can see, they're kind of hard to get on, but once they're on, they're nice and tight. I definitely think if I were to got a size medium, fingers would be loose, and that would lead to problems. I have a bigger pet peeve with gloves is when the fingers are too long. You tend to, when you're clipping carabiners, the finger gets stuck in it. And as an example, it's like if you're putting in an eye screw and then you go to clip a quick draw to the eye screw, like even something as like grabbing the rope and clipping the rope, I've had at times where the finger of the glove has gotten stuck in the carabiner. So that's not really ideal, just because, yeah, you might be in a period of time where you don't want that to happen. So it is really nice to have the fingers at the end of the glove. Overall, this glove is interesting. Because I did downsize it, I don't really have a reference. All I have as reference is a size medium. What I will say is, just at the beginning with this glove, because it did downsize, it doesn't fit totally right. I definitely know that if I take the time to kind of stretch this glove out, I think it will be a better fit. But right off the bat, I noticed that when I have my like palm extended like this, you can kind of see there's some play right here, but there's just like this extra material right there. And where right here, where between my thumb and my pointer finger, that's right here. So when I'm holding like my nomics, the tool, the handle only goes to like right there. So I have like this false sense of security in the tool because I'm not actually feeling the handle, where I think I know it's there. That's led me to get, I think, the barfies the first time I wore these gloves. Second time and third time, they've been pretty good. I do know that if I just use them and stretch them out a little bit, I think that problem will get better, because these gloves do stretch out fast. These offer a slight benefit over the M14 glove, just in the fact that they have a Gore-Tex Infinium liner. The Infinium liner is a great liner because it's pretty windproof and offers some insulation. Like the G5 Evo, the La Sportiva G5 Evo boots have a Gore-Tex Infinium insert in the toe cap to keep your feet warm. So having that kind of same technology in a glove is really nice, offers great windproof. And these also add like a grid fleece back to in the back of your hand, so they offer a little bit more warmth than the M14 glove. So yeah, so I haven't used these a lot. I do plan on using them for some dry tooling to hopefully stretch them out. I know how to stretch them out. I think all you have to do is just get them wet and start like expanding your hand. That should probably stretch them out. But overall, I think the update to these gloves is pretty good. They didn't really change a lot, but they just changed a few things that made them good. So that is the OR Mixalot glove. Overall, great glove. The next glove we'll get into is a glove that I bought at the same time as the M14 glove, and that is the Rab Axis glove. The Rab Axis glove is an interesting glove. It also uses Gore-Tex Infinium, and it also has a Pittard's leather palm. So you think with just those two things that it would be one of my favorite gloves, because I did say that the Infinium liner is really nice with the OR Mixalot. That is not true. I actually use these gloves the least amount because I think they have too much of an aggressive pre-curved fingers. They just feel weird. Definitely with gloves, you know, you definitely want something that fits your hand, and with a lot of gloves, you do want to try them on before you buy, because you never know. With these, how I can describe them is that with these two gloves, they're really great because they don't have a liner in the glove. It's just the palm and the back. There's nothing in between. These gloves, however, do have a little microfleece liner inside, and I'm not a huge fan of that because sometimes you can have the liner slip from the glove, so that can lead you to start gripping the handle a little bit more because you don't have that total security. These gloves I found kind of have that problem, but also they do kind of have a problem of being like they're too bulky, I think, in the fingers. With all these like stitches right here or right here, you feel those, and the liner kind of like, if you have your finger, the liner kind of like warps around it. It just feels like too bulky. They do handle pretty well in some cold conditions, and they do offer some padding over the knuckles. I think this padding over the knuckles is more intended probably for use of like a Petzl cork. I can imagine that would be helpful because you're hitting on the cork because it's more of a straight shaft tool. Maybe even the Cobra as well from Black Diamond, because it's more of a straight shaft tool, you'll be hitting more. So what I found with my offset handle tool, the Nomics, you really only hit your pinky, and there's no padding on the pinky. So I think these would do better on the corks, or yeah, probably the corks. But yeah, I feel like the curve for the fingers is pretty aggressive. Like this is just natural how they are. And I think like if you're trying to, like when you try to straighten out your fingers, you're definitely putting more effort into like making the fabric straight, and that I think has led to more of a pump out whenever I've used these gloves. I have a pretty good reputation whenever I use these gloves. I get the barfies, so that's maybe why I don't use them. But I think there's just some like fundamental problems with how the glove fits, and it might just be me, but I'm not a huge fan of this fit, and these next two gloves will kind of show that it might be these gloves and not just all liner gloves. But I generally prefer a glove that doesn't have a liner. So that is the Rab Axis glove. If they fit you, they'll probably work great. They're more of a specialized all-around ice climbing glove, and they're pretty warm, but there's just some things with the liners and how the fingers are curved that I'm not a huge fan of them. So the next glove we're going to get into is the Black Diamond Terminator glove. The Terminator glove is like one of Black Diamond's like all-around gloves. They kind of handle everything. Black Diamond does make a glove more specifically for dry tooling that doesn't have liner. That's the Torque. The Torque is probably the least warm out of them all because it really doesn't offer anything for warmth. It's great because it's all synthetic, but it doesn't really offer anything for warmth. It's kind of rigid too. So the Terminator is definitely their all-around glove. This is a glove that can handle a lot, and I would agree with them. I've used this glove I've used it for seconding climbs. I've used it for belaying. I've used it for rappelling. I would probably lead in these, and these do have a liner in them. But I think what they do is you can kind of see based on between these gloves, like there's not a huge curve in the fingers. I'll put on the left-hand glove as an example, and I think it's something that's the right-hand glove. I think it's something that Black Diamond did really well with these gloves is that they didn't go into this aggressive, so like normally this is how it is. Like it's not as curved as the Rab ones. Like with the Rab ones, it's like a claw, and where these, it's a pretty normal finger position. So just have that little comparison out there. Anyways, the Terminators are really nice. They have like a BD dry waterproofing, so it's their household or their in-house waterproofing. It works really well. I've had other BD stuff that has that BD dry and it works pretty good. But this glove it's a really great glove to do it all. I started using this glove more this season. This season, we're at the end of the season. I've been using it for belaying mostly, but I have been climbing in it, and it climbs pretty well. It offers some good amount of protection. It's got like this like TPU thing right over the knuckles, so that can offer some sort of protection. But realistically, where I see with this glove is it is a great all-rounder. It handles everything. It's pretty warm and it's pretty like water resistant, so it handles everything really well. It does have like a reinforced cuff right here, so some people like that. Just what I found is don't wear a watch with it because it gets in the way. But overall, it's got a lot of features meant for climbers. It's got the pretty basic loop on the finger, so you can clip it to a carabiner and you can have it on your harness. It has a pinky that is fully wrapped in leather. That is super nice. It offers your pinky a little bit more protection and a little bit more wear resistance. It offers an insert right here, so when you're handling the rope, it doesn't just burn through the palm leather. Stitching right here, I think at first if you downsize these or if you just start using them, that can be a weird like point of pull, but after you wear them a couple times, it starts to stretch out a little bit. Really nice. The biggest feature I really love about any of these Black Diamond gloves is that they have this wipe rag right here that's like of a suede leather. It's great because when you're ice climbing, it's pretty much inevitable that your nose is going to start to run, and this offers a great wipe rag, and I love that. So it's not surprising Black Diamond with a lot of their apparel and their accessories, because they focus so hard with climbing, they build things that climbers will like, and any of their gloves really emphasize, and it shows us that they really listen to climbers and they build things that climbers want. So the Terminators are no slouch. They're a great glove. I love them. I've been using them a lot. They're a great overall glove that just can handle everything. Like you could go, if you're doing a multi-pitch climb, you could start with these gloves and end with these gloves. It's as simple as that. They're really like versatile glove. We're kind of getting into that. Let's get into the next glove, and that is the Black Diamond Punisher. So whatever I said about the Terminators, they're a great overall glove and I really like them. I like these a little bit better. They're kind of the glove I have the most time with. I've spent 2 solid seasons with these, and I still continue to love them. They just offer some features that I think are better overall. So first one is they are an insulated glove. I'll put it down below. I think it's 60 grams, but it could be wrong. It could be 45 grams of insulation. They do have like a Pertex shell fabric right here with a BD dry, so they're really water resistant. They're a great glove if you know you're going to be following in some wet weather or wet conditions in general. They're really good. I followed in a lot of wet climbs. Hands were completely dry, but I've also just climbed in these a lot. I've just followed in regular climbs. When I went to Highlight last season, I just wore these gloves because it's kind of cold, but I just did everything in these gloves. I would consider leading in these gloves if it's a really cold day. And I think that's the thing, is they offer more versatility than the Terminators because they are insulated. But a thing that I found what was different is, the Terminators kind of feel like the Axis glove, but they feel way better, but they do have that built-in liner, and that liner can sometimes separate. I know when my hands are slightly wet and I pull my hands out of the Terminators, I've pulled the liner out, so that's kind of a meh. It's not a great thing. But I found with the liner that are in these gloves, they're really they're bonded to it, and because you have insulation in the fingers, I thought that'd be a point where you're it's too bulky. I'll be over gripping the handle. No, the insulation on these packs down the fingers really nice, and the dexterity on them is really good. They really have been one of my go-to gloves that I've been using season after season, and they offer the same features that the Terminators do. You have the little loop right here, they have the reinforced kind of cuff, and they have this extra insert. As you can kind of see, I got a little wear mark because I've been belaying a lot and I've rappelled a lot in these gloves. But yeah, they are just a really great glove. They are probably one of my favorite gloves that I've ever worn that is more in this traditional glove style. Black Diamond really does know how to make, like I said, clothing and accessories that are tailored to climbers. I love these gloves. They're kind of one of my go-to gloves for more featured ice, just because if you're going over featured ice, you have these little bulges, and sometimes you swing and you smack your knuckles. These have more padding in the back, and it's not even specific padding, it's just padding because they're insulated, and you don't really end up feeling when you smack ice. So that is super nice. And they have one of the best features that I love, is that it's this little piece of elastic right at the wrist. I love this because it gives great security in the glove without it being fully strapped down. So with a lot of these gloves, you have to, really crank down the Velcro on around your wrist to make sure the glove is not going to slip. And I'll get into that later with these gloves. But these gloves, because they offer that little piece of elastic right here, I've had these gloves fully undone, but I can still climb in them and they still feel great because that elastic is pretty tight and it just gets right next to your wrist and they don't slip. And it's something that I love because it just gives you more confidence, and you don't have this, when your hands are above, you don't have this major amount of slippage between. It's awesome. It's a feature that I think more gloves should implement because it's super smart. And I love that Black Diamond did it with these Punishers. But yeah, these are really kind of a great all-around glove because they can handle everything. Sometimes when it's kind of warm outside, they are a little bit too hot, but overall, they're a really great glove that were just purpose-built for ice climbing. You can just tell with these, like I said, and I'll keep on saying, Black Diamond knows how to make clothing and accessories tailored for climbers, and it's really apparent with these gloves. But yeah, so this is the Punisher. I could talk on a lot longer about the Punishers, but I won't. I'll kind of cap it at that. So the last pair of gloves that I have are the Showa gloves. It could be called the Tempest 28202. I think that I'll check if that is the name. But Showa gloves have been kind of getting more popular. There's been some alpine climbers like Colin Haley who kind of more got them popularized. They're a Japanese fishing glove. They have this insulation in them, and they're really thin. And what a lot of climbers have found is that the dexterity in these is really good, while also the temperature range. So with a lot of these gloves, there will be a point where it will be too cold for them, and your hands and your fingers will definitely get cold. Whereas these style of gloves kind of have a benefit, and the benefit is basically they're kind of like a dishwashing glove. So they have this like rubberized layer, and because they have the rubberized layer, they don't breathe, and that can be really beneficial for ice climbing. Because basically with any of these gloves, they will have some sort of breathability. Obviously with the Punishers, it's a little less so because they do have actual insulation in them. But pretty much all these gloves here, especially the ones for dry tooling and mixed climbing, they breathe really well. Now, while you're climbing, is this a really big issue? It kind of depends. If you're in really cold weather, it kind of is, because that exposure can get your fingers really cold. Whereas with these, on a cold day, they shouldn't have a problem because your hands aren't breathing. So your hands just get really warm. Where I found that effect, it was just this past week when I was able to use them. They got really warm when I was tearing down the anchor, just because I wasn't climbing, I wasn't moving or whatever. I just kind of got to a standstill and was tearing down the anchor. I was like, oh man, like my hands are getting hot. But I was like, that's good to know, because it kind of is showing that effect. So these gloves have, like I said, they've been kind of getting really popular within ice climbing just because they offer a lot of benefits. They're really waterproof, and their dexterity on them is really good. Now, I was skeptical about these. I thought that the dexterity wouldn't be that great because they seem kind of like bulky. And the big thing is that they didn't have any like clinch around the wrist, which is something I love about the Punishers. And I thought, what's the point of trying these? Because whenever you climb in them, they're just going to continuously move up, and you're going to be over gripping because the glove is coming off. And that might be a case for other models of this glove, but what makes this glove different is it has this gauntlet that has this elastic, so you can pull it down and pull it tight. And what I found was, because of having this gauntlet, it really keeps the glove in place, and that is something that's really nice. And out of all these gloves, when I was talking about the M14 being really the dexterity being really good on it, these are probably more so. And now, after using them, just after one day of using them, I'm ready to switch to these being my main like leading glove and everything glove for ice climbing. Now, obviously, these have a place that you wouldn't really necessarily want to use them for mixed climbing, because both of these gloves offer better like sensitivity and dexterity and, I don't know, security, I guess. Whereas these might be questionable for that amount of security. But I think if you're just purely ice climbing, these are a great glove. They obviously do have their limitations as well. Like, you wouldn't really want to belay a lot in these gloves, and you wouldn't really want to do a lot of rappels in them. I think there's people who've been using these gloves, and they say after like 3 rappels they burn through the rubber, which makes sense. They're not meant for climbing, they are meant for fishing. So, but I think for lead climbing, these are going to be like one of my go-to. I really like how they felt. They were really warm. They are really awesome. But sometimes this type of glove isn't for everyone. I know I was definitely skeptical of it but as soon as I gave it a try, I was pretty ecstatic to use them and to continue to use them. I did get a size large in these. That's kind of the weird thing with these gloves. It's hard to figure out the fit. I wear a size medium in all these gloves except the OR, because I got a size small because I downsized. But I almost could see buying a size medium in these, and because there's definitely some fingers, like my pinky fingers, got a little bit extra room, but 2 other fingers, it's kind of weird. But definitely finding the size with the glove is a little bit more important with these, because the fit really kind of determines how the performance is, and that's pretty true with all these gloves. You definitely want to have a glove that fits you. If you have a glove that's too loose, you'll run into problems, whether it be like the glove slipping, or the big one that I have is, the fingers are too long and then they get caught in carabiners all the time. That's a pain. So finding a good fitting glove and a glove that works for you is definitely important. Use these kind of glove guides as more, take them with a grain of salt. Definitely everyone can learn from experiences from other people, what they use for their glove systems, and this is kind of the same thing. But really what it comes down to is what works for you. Definitely try on the glove before, and if you have opportunities to ask friends if they have certain types of gloves, if you can use them, definitely take those opportunities. Because sometimes, you know, you watch a video and you think this is going to be a great glove because this person recommends it, and then you buy the glove and you're like, that wasn't that great. So just be aware of that. Definitely try on gloves, go to your local gear store, see what they have, and then read reviews on them. But like I said, at the end of the day, it is a lot of personal preference. I think going forward, a lot of my mainstay gloves will be the Showa glove. It will continue to be the Punisher and the Terminator for lane following. And I'll definitely use the Mixalot and M14 glove for dry tooling, and maybe some days, I don't know, on ice. It just depends. Really, the only glove that for the past 2 seasons where I haven't really found a great use for is the Axis glove. But yeah, so that's been my gloves that I've used. Hope this was helpful for anyone who's watching it, and thank you guys for watching this kind of long video, and I will see you guys in the next one.